Hey, what's going on, man? It's your boy Sauce McKenzie, man, aka the Concrete Genius, and I am honored. I mean, honored, and I say this humbly to bring my next guest, man. He's a great friend of mine from my hometown. Um, Gary, Indiana, born and bred. Always outside, just reliable, dependable, honorable. 21 seasons in the major leagues. National League pennant winner, 11 teams, man, drafted 1991, rode it all the way to 2015. Now he's with Bally Sports TV. He's an analyst, one of the best in the game. Just honored, man. Latroy Hawkins. Hawk, how you doing, baby?
Hey, Lau, man, it's an honor, man, to be on the show. It's been a long time, man. I reached out to you on Facebook. I was like, man, it's like, Jay, you need to be writing a journalist somewhere, man. Like, you need to be on TV also, man. Your thought process, the way you see the games and everything is just completely a different feel than what we're getting every day on television. It's a different feel. It's so real. And that's
I'm honored, man. I'm honored with that. I'm honored with that. So what you saying, you my homie, so I'm taking the jewels. You saying as far as like the hoop, I need to be analyzing the hoop?
Yeah. Hoop and life. You are a certified life coach. And go ahead.
Nah, me and you need to put that together.
Yeah, you are a certified life coach, man. Just listening to you speak and how you pour into everybody's cup. Your ability to see the game like an NBA coach, like Krzyzewski and all the top coaches in the game. Like your ability to see the game like that. You should be on somebody's sideline, guiding these young men or young women, to the promised land. You have that gift. You have it, and the gift is packaged, and on the package it says no BS. No BS. Hey. No BS on the package. Yeah. And I think this day and age, that's what we need, the no BS package.
No BS, man. I mean, it's a testament. Yes. First of all, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, you was always a guy, like, you was just my guy. Like, when I saw you, it was quick. It was real. You was my guy. You know what I mean? Wasn't no Big John, Jay. It was just quick, boom, boom. And that's how we did, never no faking. And to this day, you're honorable. Everybody knows I set themselves, man. I watched you and I rooted for you. I prayed for you. And I'm like, yo, that's my family. You know what I mean? And so to get to this point, to hear you say that and see you speak, man, we on the same path. We on the same path.
Give me goosebumps, man. Look at that. all the things going on. And I got my boy praying for me. Like,
all the time, man. I'm in that mug, man. And the whole time I'm in there because honestly, I knew everybody knew my character. We was gonna be good. If I trusted my faith, we was gonna be good. Mm-hmm. So that's a blessing, man. It's an honor. But first, I gotta ask. A lot of people don't know. Obviously, 1991, probably the greatest year in American history for graduates. You know what I'm saying? West Side, we did our thing. You came out. You went to the league. I mean, you got drafted. How long did you have to fight it out in the minors before you got your first call up?
Ooh, man, I had to fight it out. I didn't make my major league debut until 1995. And ironically, I only made the team that year out of spring training because we're coming out of a strike year. See, the owners didn't lock us out. We went on strike that August of 1994. And it lasted all the way until like April of 1995. And when we started back, our rosters had to be expanded because spring training was only a couple weeks. So MLB said, hey, every team gets to carry like 7 or 8 extra guys. And I was one of those extra guys. So that's how I navigated my way to the big leagues. But I didn't stay. I was up and down until 97.
Man, that's a hell of a grind, man. That's a testament to your endurance too.
Well, we come from, and I always, I don't care what you read bad about Gary, and I know you feel the same way. What you read bad about Gary, I tell you what Gary gave me, I could never repay it to Gary because it helped me through so many low points in my life where normal Normal folk would have just gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Normal folks would just walked away. I couldn't walk away because I knew what I had to walk back to. And that right there was more of an incentive to keep going. I don't care how hard it got. And, people have this misconception about, well, he signed a professional baseball contract. Yeah, that's just the beginning, man. There's a lot of work to be done, as you know, to make it up that chain, that ladder, man. There's so much work. I mean, when I got drafted, I signed the contract the day before we graduated, or 2 days before we graduated. I left the next morning.
Oh my God. I was going to ask you how quick, because obviously you know what happened, but how quick, and I was so proud when I heard it happen. So were you thinking Minnesota, or was it just random? You was just hoping to get picked coming out the crib?
You know what? I had went to a couple pre-draft camps over in Chicago, and I went to one in Pittsburgh for the Pirates. And Mr. Dye, who runs the physical therapy, the trainers for all the Gary schools, he was my advisor, and he drove me. We had our senior picnic. We had our senior picnic and awards banquet, and I left that night because I had to be in Pittsburgh that next morning on the field, ready to go through a pre-draft camp at 9:00. And Mr. Dye drove me all night. We got to Pittsburgh about 7:15. We're allowed to check into the hotel. I took a nap, and then I went out there to play, to try to run, hit, and throw. And I had a terrible showing, man. And I'll never forget Bill Brick. Bill Brick just passed away last year, and he was from Cherville. He was a long-time, well-respected scout throughout Major League Baseball. I mean, he's in the Scouts Hall of Fame. And he told me after I got drafted, he said, "Latroy, I still believe in you. You didn't show up today because you just didn't. It happens. It was a one-time thing." He said, "I still hope we take you, but if we don't, somebody will." And when I got to the big leagues in '95, Bill Brick came to see me every year. He was in town scouting. He came to see me, and we always went to dinner. He always talked about him watching me play at Horseman or West Side or at Roosevelt. So, man, it's real. Man, I tell you about Gary, man. Gary gave me so much that I'm so glad. I'm so happy and just humble. I came from a place that didn't give me anything. It gave me the thought process that if you want anything in this life, you're going to have to work hard for it. You're going to have to work hard. When I got to Fort Myers the day after graduation, I'm looking at these cats, Jay, and I'm like, if these dudes play this well, I'm in trouble. I ain't never seen anybody throw that hard. I never seen anybody throw the ball like that. I never saw anybody hit the ball like that. My mind was just blown about, like, where are these guys being? Like, they should be in the big league. And they were at the bottom where I was. They were at the bottom in Gulf Coast League. You can't get any further than Gulf Coast League.
So that's below rookie. So how does it go? Is it Gulf Coast?
So back then it was Gulf Coast League, which is rookie league. And then we had a high rookie league, which is short season A-ball. So a lot of times when the next draft comes the following year, pretty much the guys that are in college baseball or the guys who excelled in rookie ball, they usually moved up to that level. And that starts in like June and goes to the end of August. And then you have A-ball, then you have high A-ball, then you have double A and triple A. So once you get to double A and triple A, you're well on your way, to get into the big leagues if you have any type of, talent. But it's a grind, man. We had to be at the ballpark at 7 a.m. and we worked on our game till about 10:30. Then we took lunch till 11:30. And then at 1:30, and our lunch used to be sandwiches and hot soup sitting in the middle of the field in the hot sun in Fort Myers, Florida at noon. And then we would get on the bus. It depended on where we played and how early we had to get on the bus. But we were at home. Lunch was 11:30 to 12:30. And then at 1 o'clock, the game was starting. You play at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, maybe 5, and the game lasts long in the dead of the summer in Florida. And it's 95 degrees and 110% humidity. That's a grind, man. And coming from a place, Jay, where in high school, I played 17 games. Yeah. I got thrown into playing like 65 games.
You what, still 18, 19 maybe?
18.
So this summer 91, you going full at it.
Full at it. While everybody else having a good time after graduation. I went straight to work.
Wow.
The day I graduated, the day before I graduated, I started paying taxes.
So what was the first signing bonus?
I signed for $27,500 out of high school, the seventh round.
Seventh round. That's not bad.
But the total contract was probably about $85,000 because I had college in there. They did give me college, so it was equivalent to what I would have had to pay had I went to Indiana State. So they had to make that money up.
I gotta. Before I jump off topic, I want to make sure I ask you this before I forget. Did the Pittsburgh workout affect your draft status?
You know what, Jay? I was so green through the whole process that I don't know. Just talking to some of the guys, the scouts who saw me in high school, talking to them over the years, I would say no, because they like they say in my scout, I wasn't a baseball player.
Yeah.
They said I was an athlete.
Yeah.
So they took a chance on the athlete.
Yeah.
They took a chance on the athlete. And they hoped that our player development department, whichever team that I was going to be with, get drafted by, happened to be the Twins, the player development could make me into a pitcher. So with my athleticism. Now,
a lot of people don't know this, but I know this. And like you said, I'm masterful at knowing the game, but I was blessed in one of the greatest eras of basketball to come up. You know what I mean? And we all came up through the Biddy, Tolliston Biddy, the Glen Park Wars. You know what I mean? That was back in the day where I don't care if you was a bad kid or a good kid, everybody played baseball, football, and hoop. You played for the Gary Stillers, you played Biddy, then you hoop. If you tailed off, then you tailed off. But this man right here was the first man I ever seen had people crying scared to bat, dog. I mean, it was so fucking phenomenal. It was just like, he was like the black Randy Johnson, bro. Like, I would see dudes oh man, dudes was really faking injuries at 12, like future gangbangers, because they didn't want to face this dude. But he was also a phenomenal basketball player. And pound for pound,
that's what I love.
If he had put everything in the hoop, he was right there where Glenn and them was. And he was doing hoop as something that wasn't going to pay his bills and still could have probably. Then you had some offers. Was it Indiana State?
Yeah, Indiana State. Yep.
Indiana State.
I had a few offers, but I thought I was a hooper, man. Jay, I thought I was a hooper.
You were.
You know what? Who told me I wasn't a hooper?
Who told you that?
My granddaddy. May he
rest in peace, man.
You all right? He said, "You all right, basketball player? And you're a much better baseball player." I was like, "You crazy, man. You don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Homeboy, you don't know what you're talking about." He said, "You know why I know what I'm talking about? Because in basketball, they only got 12 players. In baseball, they got 25. You got a better chance." I'm like, it didn't even resonate then, though. Like, he was looking at a whole nother aspect of it. I'm thinking about, crossing somebody over, going to dunking the ball, or shooting the mid-range jump shot. He wasn't even thinking about that. He was like, my chances, more opportunity in baseball. Jeez. And I'm like, God, granddad. So over the years, he's like, I told you. He's like, you'll listen to me. I was like, I did listen to you. He was genius. Yep.
So how close before that talk, were you close contemplating basketball? Like, was it close to ever being 50-50? Because you love baseball too. You were in your zone out there, man. So
yeah, it wasn't 50-50. I was basketball 75-25.
Wow.
I was 75-25 basketball. And just because basketball came so much more natural. Mm-hmm. And I had so much better coaching in the basketball part of my life than I had in the baseball part of my life at that time. Everything I did in baseball was like, from watching the Cubs, watching the end of the Cubs game when we got home at 3:30 from school, and they were in the 7th or 8th inning, and then before I went to bed, watching the White Sox game that started at 7. Everything I learned was from there. We didn't have YouTube, so I had to watch the TV. I was watching the games on TV, and that's how I learned how to pitch. That's how I learned how to do the pitching motion, from watching Lee Smith and Rick Sutcliffe and Bobby Thigpen and all those guys that played for the White Sox and the Cubs. So I had no baseball training. It was all me watching the TV. But basketball, we had those legends in our city, man. We had Coach Heflin and Coach Brown, and I had Coach Monroe as our assistant coach, and Tanner Joe and Murray Richards, and then we had all the old heads that came up and scrimmaged against us on the weekends on Saturday morning practice. So I had so much more tutelage in basketball than I did baseball.
Man, that's phenomenal. Like hey man, hey, hold the fuck up. Like I want to really acknowledge this in 2022, man. Like, because I'm a nigga. I was running around Gary. I pretty much was into everything. I just had the assumption.
Did you want to really acknowledge what? Say it again.
That really you taught yourself how to pitch by watching the Cubs and watching motions on TV. That is so amazing to me, bro. Like, I just would have thought like an uncle showed you something. Because seeing you up there and now thinking about it, you was mimicking them. I see you now standing on the mound, you holding that ball back. That was from watching the Cubs, 83, 84 Cubs. It's all coming together, man. That's phenomenal. Like, back, man. Sorry for the interruption. Had a little technical difficulties. I want to ask you, how does it feel? What are you doing when you get that call up? And what does it feel like to walk in that major league locker room for the first time? Stay.
Right, well, I didn't know I was going to stay. So my call up was not like the normal call up. So when we talk about in terms of getting called up, it's like you're in the minor league during the season, and say you're playing with the Gary Railcats, and we're going to call you up to the big league. Hey, I'm the manager. Hey, Latroy, we need Big John Loudon. Tell him he's getting the call up to the big league. So mine didn't happen like that. I made the team out of spring training. So I was already in the clubhouse with the big leaguers towards the end of spring training. They called me into the office, Tom Kelly, Hall of Fame manager. And he was like, well, son, like TK had this East Coast, like not a griminess to him, but just like this hard, this cold, intimidating feel to him. Like, and if you're not from like where we're from, you can be easily intimidated by this dude. Like, he can intimidate you. He's like, well, son, just want to let you know you should call your parents and tell them you're a big leaguer. I'm like, okay, cool. So we didn't have cell phones back then, Jay. I was like, damn. So now I got to carry this information. I got to go back to my locker. I got to shower. I got to get dressed. I can't call nobody because we got no cell phone. I got to go all the way back to my apartment. And then I got to call my parents. I got to call my granddaddy, my grandmama, both my grandmamas, my granddaddy, and my mama. Nobody's at home. Nobody's answering the phone. Nobody's answering the phone. I'm like, ah. So I end up, waiting a little while, and my grandma saw the call ID, and so my grandfather called me back. He's like, what's going on, homeboy? And I was like, I just wanted to call y'all and let y'all know I made the team. I'm going to the big league. He was like, my grandfather was so cool about it. He was like, well, congratulations, young man. And I'm like, well, thanks, granddad. He was like, I was like, that's it. He was like, yeah, what else you want me to say? You work hard. Okay. So I tell my grandmother, and she's hysterical. She is hysterical, like just losing it. And my mom was like, congratulations. She was like, say, hey. She was like, how you feel? I'm like, I'm a little nervous because it's the big leagues. She's like, okay, well, you know when you're going to pitch? And I'm like, no, not yet. She said, well, what's the earliest you can let us know? I was like, I don't know that either, mama. She's like, you know we're coming. I'm like, yeah, I know y'all coming. So I ended up pitching like probably 10 days later in Minnesota. And I had 6 cars to come up there, 6 carloads of people. I had 8 rooms at the Marriott downtown Minnesota. I'll never forget. I spent about $4,000 on hotel rooms, food, and gas.
Just for this one, this is for this first experience.
Yeah, they stayed 2 days though. They stayed 2 nights at the hotel, but 2 nights at the hotel, 8 rooms, food, gas money. I mean, it was. I bought everybody jerseys.
So context, time and place for people who don't know. And then so we're talking, what year is this?
This is 1995.
This is 1995. We're talking 6 cars of people driving from Gary, Indiana to Minneapolis, Minnesota. What's that?
6-hour drive.
6-hour drive.
Uh-huh.
6-hour drive. We talking hotel rooms. Who were you playing?
We were playing the Baltimore Orioles. I was pitching against Cal Ripken.
Jesus Christ.
Cal Ripken. Yep. And I went out there, Big J, and I just committed shitting all over myself. I was completely overwhelmed. I threw an inning and 2/3. I think I gave up 7 earned runs. I didn't make it out of the second inning. It was a rough night. It was a rough night. But when I walked out of that clubhouse to meet my family and my friends that came from Gary, shit, man, you'd have thought I threw a no-hitter.
Right.
You'd have thought I threw a no-hitter. The love was just like, It was just like, everything I felt after that game, because it was so emotionally draining. And I wasn't nervous going into the game. That's the funny part. Like, I was not nervous, and that was weird. Like, why wasn't I nervous? I'm about to play against some dudes that their job is to kill me.
Yeah.
That's their job. And I wasn't nervous, man.
Yeah.
I get sent back down to the minor leagues, and I get called back up in September. The second go round, man, I was so nervous. I couldn't hardly sleep. I was a nervous wreck the second time, but that's how I should have been the first time. Thought I had it figured out that first time because I had such a great minor league career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I thought that everything I did in the minor leagues was just going to be enough that was going to be able to sustain me in the big leagues. And I learned my first outing, it wasn't enough. I learned that there's a big difference from the minor league baseball and the big leagues. In the big leagues, everybody want to drive a Mercedes. Everybody want a nice house. Everybody wants the nice jewelry and the Rolexes and the nice threads. Everybody wants that. And I had to figure out a way how I was going to get that too.
Yeah.
It took me a little while, but I figured it out. And, and that's Gary. That's Gary.
Hustle.
Everything I've learned, the hustle.
Yeah.
Figuring it out, making adjustments.
Yeah.
Making adjustments.
Yeah. We're going to find a way to survive. No doubt. So 96 goes. So how did you grind it out? Were you with the affiliate or were you at the big leagues in 96? Or how was that year for you mentally?
Man, I made a comment. It's crazy, man, because we traded our closer, Rick Aguilera, for Frankie Rodriguez to the Red Sox. He was a first round pick. He was a starting pitcher. We trade for him. He takes my spot. Now, I don't make the team out of spring training in 1996.
Because of this trade?
Because of the trade, yeah. Because of that trade, I don't make the team. I don't make the team because they already found somebody to fill my spot. And I'm in AAA in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm sitting down talking to a reporter, and I say some off-the-wall shit. And it kind of got me in trouble. But to this day, I knew I was right, but it was a time where I probably shouldn't have said it because it definitely kept me in the minor leagues a lot longer. And it was like about race, about, me being black, them not giving me an opportunity. And thinking back on it now, I'm like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have said that because when I was there, I got my brains beat in. I wasn't good when I was there. So maybe I should have took a step back and looked in the mirror as opposed to pointing fingers at, some shit I really couldn't control. What I could control was how I performed, and I didn't perform well. So I go back to AAA. They call me up one time in 96. They called me up 2 times, and I pitched a little bit better. 97, I don't make the team out of spring training. Now I'm really mad because I'm like, but again, I'm not looking in the mirror. I'm not looking at my stats. My stats don't say you should be in the big leagues. But when you're young, you caught up in the moment, you kind of point fingers at other people. And I should have been pointing the finger and pulling the thumb back to myself, because all I had to do was play better. I had to play better. Had a good start to AAA season in 97, and May 27th of 1997, I got called back up to the big leagues.
May 27th.
And I stayed May 27th, and I stayed from May 27th until 2015. Didn't go back down to the minor leagues. I went down for a rehab assignment after I had shoulder surgery and some stuff like that, but never went back. But I learned a lot through that process of those first 3 years, that up and down, up and down. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about accountability too, because had I did what I was supposed to do, there's a really good chance I would have been where I wanted to be.
And what changed mentally? What changed?
Well, it was mentally, and I wasn't ready for the big leagues. I had such a great minor league career that they thought I was ready for the big leagues, but I wasn't. And I was in a market in Minnesota, which is small market team. We were rebuilding, so all the superstars had pretty much left, and we were rebuilding our team from our minor league system. So we're going to take our lumps. When you start to rebuild, as you know, a franchise, you're going to take your lumps, because you're not rebuilding with veterans. You're rebuilding with pretty much everybody with the same service time in the league, whatever league it may be. Yeah. And it's a struggle, because those other teams are winning 80 and 90 and 100 games, and you're projected to win 40 or 60. So you're going to take your lumps. I wasn't ready, but I got ready as best as I could at the time, but I learned a lot. It learned me to be, I tell you, I always say this, I was so comfortable in uncomfortable situations, it helped me get through my career, because my first 3 years were so shaky. I had so many runners on base that I got comfortable being in those situations. So when I went from being a starter to the bullpen, having guys on base didn't bother me, because I had been there. I had ran that race already.
Yeah.
I had mastered that race. So it helped me, just being accountable, understanding this is a performance-based league.
Yeah.
Just like all the leagues are performance-based. It's like pretty much every performance-based. When I performed, I stayed. When I didn't perform, I went back.
Yeah. And that helps you get out your feelings. It balances that chip on our shoulder. You know what I mean? That chip, that fire gets us there, but then we got to have that common sense to realize, all right, well, maybe it ain't everybody against me. Let me get my own shit right. You know what I'm saying?
That's that hard conversation, that hard, eye contact, that real eye contact that our daddies taught us. When you're talking to another man, you get that eye contact. Yeah. Nothing like that eye contact when you're looking in the mirror and that reflection is you.
Yeah.
And you got to own it. You have to own it. And I owned it.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. Walking in the locker room, who are your vets?
Ooh, Kirby Puckett, man. Oh my God. Kirby was everything, because, man, again, Blues Bumps, man. Kirby was everything, because Kirby made everybody feel like, he made everybody feel special. If Kirby saw you, Big J Long, what's up, Doc?
Yeah.
Like he would embrace you, and he made you feel so comfortable that it was hard to walk in that locker room and like feel a little intimidated by everybody, because you watch these guys on TV. Kirby made sure he broke that down immediately. Like he brought you in, and he didn't care what color you were. He didn't care about all that. He understood the more comfortable these young guys are coming into the clubhouse, the better they're going to perform. And I think that definitely helped me. I didn't perform that great, but it helped me in my surroundings to feel comfortable. And all I had to worry about was trying to get better on the field, not trying to gain my teammates, credibility. He broke down all those walls. So Kirby was awesome, man. And I had Rick Aguilera. Aggie was our closer. Mike Morgan, who had pitched, he came out of the high school and went to the big leagues. And he was an older cat at the time. He's like 38. And Mo Man was like, I noticed I already named Mo Man was a white guy. Aguilera was Hispanic.
Yeah.
Kirby Puckett was black.
Yeah.
So, and I always say this, Jay, like if everybody played baseball, there would be no racism. There would be no racism. Everybody played baseball. There would be no racism. We didn't have time for it. We didn't have time for it. We didn't have time for it. So those three guys were my go-to, man. And I had an incident with Pedro Munoz. Pedro Munoz was a Dominican guy. And no, he's Puerto Rican. And he wasn't mean, but he just looked.
Yeah.
And he would always say, "Shut the F up, rookie." I'm like, always. When I wasn't even talking, man, I did way more listening than I did talking because, you know, I ain't a dumb cat. I understand what room I'm in and where I need to, you know, my place. And he shut the fuck, rookie. And I'm like, so about, you know, it's probably about, you know, probably about 2 months in, I say, Kirby, man, check this out, man. Your boy Pedro Munoz, man. Yeah, we gonna fight. We gonna fight because I ain't, you know, that disrespect, shut the cup, rookie. I didn't like that, especially when I wasn't talking to him, and I'm trying to be low key, and I'm talking to the other guys who were on my same service time level, and he was always on me, and I'm like, and I ain't do nothing for him to be on me, but just being on the team. Kirby was like, "Hey, T-Hawk, calm down, okay?" You know, Kirby from the Robert Taylor homes over in Chicago, and he was like, "Hey, Hawk, T-Hawk, calm down. It's not that serious." I'm like, "Puck, it is that serious, man. You hear how you talking to me?" He's like, "Listen to me, young man, listen. It's not that serious." I'm like, "All right, Puck, I'm just saying, man." And I'll never forget that September, we just got on a plane, going on a road trip, and Pedro was like, "Hey, rookie, come up here." And he always sat in the extra row by himself. And I'm thinking, like, it's about to go down on this plane, Jay. I was like, it's about to go down because this is the last time you're going to disrespect me. I go up there. He was like, "Sit down, rookie." I'm like, he's like, "You know what, rookie? No, you know what, rookie? You all right with me." I'm like, "Huh?" He said, "You all right with me. You good peeps, man." And I'm like, whew. I'm glad, Petey, because me and you was going to fight. Because I really got to the point where I wanted to fight you. He said, "Well, you do know that was a fight you were going to lose, right?" I was like, "I don't care. Where I'm from, you fight.
Right.
I don't care if you lose or not, you fight.
Right.
You got to have some type of respect." He was like, "Rookie, you all right with me." And after that, he never messed with me again, man. But I'm glad I talked to Puck and played my role because, you know, he was just testing me to be solid. He's making sure I was solid.
Yeah.
He's making sure I was solid.
Now, look, you pitched, so 98.
Yeah.
98 is when them balls was flying up out of there. Were you starting or were you coming in as a reliever?
I was starting in, and I gave up a home run to Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa got me in Minnesota.
In that year?
Yep, opposite field. That year that they hit all those home runs, him and Mark McGwire. Yep, he got me. But, you know, it was an exciting time for baseball. Yeah, I was part of it. I was part of the that home run era. I was part of the steroid era. You know what? People's like, "Well, how do you feel about it?" I was like, I don't feel any kind of way because, nigga, where I'm from, you do whatever it takes by any means necessary, man, to survive. Exactly, to survive.
Yeah.
And people really don't understand my concept, my thought process about it. Well, they were cheating and you wasn't cheating and they did this and they did that. Like, that don't matter to me, man.
Yeah.
That didn't matter to me. I had to figure out how to get those guys out while they're on steroids. I didn't want to do steroids too. I had to figure out a way. I had to be smarter than that. I figured out how to do it clean against the guys who were doing it dirty. I don't have any ill feelings towards them because they did what they thought they needed to do to feed their family. If you're trying to feed your family, I ain't got nothing negative to say about you, man. I really don't. As long as you ain't hurt nobody, I can't. Do your thing, man. Do your thing. But yeah, it was. I pitched in some tough eras, but you know what? I was tougher than those eras.
Right.
I was tougher than them. I was tougher than them.
Right. And what I was gonna say is if you built for it, when the era changed, I'm standing there when another era comes. That's what I say about rappers.
Yep.
Athletes or whatever. If the era change, he gonna be solid in the next era. if he was a fad, he's gone with the era. So when it came to that, I just always knew you were gonna be. It was something you was gonna be able to endure. It was easy money. So Hawk, talk to me about your very famous godson who started out with a friendship that was developed, through trials and tribulations.
Well, his dad, Pat Mahomes Sr., I think Big Pat was 3 years older, and he had already been in the Twins organization. He was drafted in 89. Mm-hmm. 89, yeah, 88. He was drafted in 88, and he was a 17-year-old when he got drafted. And by the time I came along in 91, I didn't meet him then, but I knew he was one of the black pitchers in the organization that was like one of our top prospects. Him and another cat named Willie Banks. Willie was from New Jersey. He played basketball. He was an All-American basketball player with the Hurleys. He played for Coach Hurley and his son over at what's the private school that
St. Anthony, St. Patrick's, one of them.
St. Anthony. So yeah. Willie played on that team with Hurleys, and they were top prospects. 2 black pitchers in our organization, 1 and 2, and I'm seeing there's another black pitcher. I'm like, damn, these dudes, like, man, okay. So fast forward 92, my first spring training. Spring training is when I leave, like in February, early March. And we're down in Florida for like 6 weeks. Pat and Willie come down to the minor league and looking for me, looking for actually all the black guys so they could take us out to eat. Because they were making that big league money. They were making $107,000. They had some money. And, I guess Kirby did the same thing for them when they're in the minor league. We'll come down, hey, after y'all get done, meet me on the big league side and we're going to go get some grub. So Pat would take us to Hooters. We want to eat as much as just develop that friendship like that. We never played together until 95 when I made it to the big leagues. And when I made the team out of spring training, he was probably the first person that I told, because him and Scott Erickson, the whole spring training, kept saying, you make this team, you got to live with us. You got to live with us. And I'm thinking, like, I'm not going to live with y'all. Scott Erickson, a white guy, Pat, a black country guy from Lindale, Texas, man. It was like, I was like, man, I don't know about this. And I made the team and I ended up living with them. And it was everything that they had talked about. And you start talking about the women and hanging out and, every night it's a party at our house. It was amazing. It was amazing. But it got to be just a little too much because we were 0-13. The 3 of us, we're all 3 starters. And yeah, exactly. And we're at the Target Center hooping against Vashawn Leonard and Kevin McHale now. We're hooping, like getting it in. It's just, and we're baseball players. We're 0-13 and we out here hooping with these dudes. Vashawn was probably a junior at the University of Minnesota at the time. You remember Vashawn Leonard?
I remember he was nice.
Yeah, And man, we're up there running full course with all these dudes. We're getting it in, dog. Like getting it in.
And what's that record was again? Just for shits again.
We were 0-13 between the 3 of us.
What ERA? What was the ERAs like?
Combined, we probably had like a 9 combined. It was awful, man. But what we doing in our spare time, we throwing alley-oops to each other. Throwing alley-oops, just getting it, man.
Yeah. That's a nice bond being formed. That's a nice bond being formed.
We were so reckless, man. We were so reckless. And all 3 of us were a lot better than what we were performing on the field at the time. We were a lot better. But that's how I became really good friends with Pat. And, it just continued. Our friendship continued to grow because they did an interview on us early in February and just talked about our relationship, like how Pat was like my mentor coming up because he had been through everything that I was going through, and he wanted to make sure that he let me know, some of the, speed bumps that he hit or some of the roadblocks that he came across. He wanted to make sure I was prepared for it. And I got nothing but love for him for that. And, when I lived with them, him and Scotty, Detroit didn't have to pay rent. I didn't have to pay for food on the road. They paid for everything, man. They looked after me like we all grew up in the same house.
Wow.
And to this day, I'll always be Scott Eric, always be my guy. We don't see Scotty a lot. We see him maybe 2-3 times a year, but Scotty can call me right now and be like, Hawk, I need you. And I gotta stop what I'm doing to go and see what the deal is because he took care of me when he didn't have to.
Yeah.
He's just another one of those situations where he made sure that the only thing I had to really worry about was trying to get guys out. And when you alleviate some of the stress, when you're the young guy in the big league, you can alleviate some stress and you can just put all your stress right here instead of having your stress all spread out in different piles. Man, it helps a lot. I mean, I didn't perform that well, but it still helped me. It still helped me because I was so focused on trying to get guys out that I didn't have a chance to worry about, paying my rent, counting my paycheck, where am I eat at? They made sure I had all that. I was like their little brother. And then Scotty gets traded to Baltimore. Pat's still around. He got traded that year actually. And now it's just me and Pat in this big old penthouse. And it's like, and I'm watching my boy Silky. I call him Silky P. And I'm like, Silky P is off the chain, man. Now I got to be the adult. So we can't keep funking. We can't keep going at this rate, man, because we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it, man. And, he talked about that in the interview that we did, a lot of times that I was always like the big brother because he was, he'll tell you I was into, I was trying to have as much fun as I could. Yeah. And a lot of things that was important at the time shouldn't have been important, and things that should have been important wasn't that important.
Yeah.
So, that's that bond we created. And it's funny because we also talked about two black pitchers on the same staff. It was never about competition for us. We were never competing against each other. We never tried to tear each other down. We always tried to lift each other up. And that's why our relationship is so real because we never tried to do that, man. We never allowed them to pit us against each other. He was too smart for that, and I was way too smart for that also. We never let them pit. So all we did, we lifted each other up. We lifted each other up. And, I remember when he found out he had his new girlfriend. He came to spring training, and I'm like, okay. And we're sitting in the hot tub, and he was like, hey, man, I'm going to be a daddy. Randy's pregnant. And I'm looking, I'm like, huh? Because, it was like, I ain't had baby. Baby wasn't nowhere near on my mind I having at the time. I was trying to get paper. I was trying to get to the big league, get established. And I guess I was like, well, Pat was already there, so he was kind of established, so it's time to have a baby. And that baby that his wife had at the time was Lil Patrick, who was, the Chiefs quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So, just being around him, me and Pat and I went to, we played in Puerto Rico together. So, once we, finished with our regular season here, we would go play winter ball. And we were in Puerto Rico together. And I had Lil Patrick was with us when he was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months old. And then we went and did it again the next year. 5, 6, he was 2, 1.5, almost 2. And, Patrick never slept. And, his dad liked to sleep.
Oh, Junior never slept.
He never slept. And then Senior liked to sleep. So, and Mama liked to sleep. So I was left up with Lil Patrick, and we would watch TV, whatever he wanted to watch. And, he loved ketchup. You read about him now, he puts ketchup on everything. Well, that just didn't start when he got to the NFL. And it was part of the process when he was that little, man. So been around him since he was, knee-high to a grasshopper. And he's always been a really good athlete. Much better basketball player than he was a quarterback or a baseball player in high school. Much better. Averaged like 26 points a game. Didn't do all that AAU stuff. Didn't play in the summertime. He played baseball in his baseball season. He played football in football season. He played basketball in basketball season.
Old school.
And he was pretty doggone good in all three but basketball was his sport. Basketball was his sport.
Mm.
And, just that relationship and just, being able to, have your father say, I want you to be my son's godfather, my firstborn.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's one of those things, man. Like, and Pat's the reason why I live in Texas. Because I used to come here and visit him all the time. And I said, man, I'm going to move here. But I didn't want to move to the country. Coming from Gary, man, I didn't want to be in the country. And because they live way out in Tyler in East Texas, and it was small back then. I'm like, no, I'll move here. And I can just run over there when I want to. Yeah. Back in the day, we used to drive that 2 hours back and forth like it wasn't nothing. Yeah. And, but he's my type of friend, J. Lau, and I know you got some of them too. I can call Pat right now, senior, and I'll be like, hey, I need you, man. Let's go to the moon. He's not going to ask any questions.
Yeah.
You know what he's going to say? The moon will not be the same when we get there. That's the only thing he's going to say, man.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he's going to say. It's not like, man, what you doing, man? This ain't a smart idea. But no, he's going to ride with you till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And he's still like that to this day. He's going to ride with the wheels fall off. And my brother, who we have the same dad, not the same mom, is married to his niece.
Okay.
Oh, and they have 2 boys now. One's 7 and one's 5. So they got 2 boys, and he met his niece. My brother came to stay with me after he graduated from college at TSU. He came to homeschool my daughter. And on Friday nights, when my season was over with, it was football season, I would drive 2 hours to go watch Patrick play football his junior and senior year. And my brother and Pat's niece started hanging out, and the rest is it. Now they've been married for 9 years with 2 kids.
Wow. That's amazing.
So it's a crazy story, man. But
how nerve-wracking are you? Like, who's more nervous, you or Big Pat, watching them games?
Man, I don't think we're nervous. We're so locked in to the games that when we're in a suite, he's sitting in his seat, I'm sitting in my seat, we're watching the games, like we're locked in. The ladies are doing what they do, whatever, and they're doing all that, but we're locked in. The only time I've been nervous at the game, and he talked about this the other day, he said the only time he saw me get emotional when they were down like by 10 points in that Super Bowl in Miami against San Francisco. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, already, like, I had made it to play in the World Series. His dad played in the World Series. Neither one of us won it. Patrick was already in the Super Bowl. Like, he was in, that's the pinnacle of the career right there, especially as a second year. And I just he threw that long pass to Tariq Hill. Well, when they called the timeout, he said, Patrick told Eric Bieniemy what he wanted to run. He said, I just need a little time because Bosa was on his butt. I need a little time. And he made that play. We didn't know that at the time. Didn't know that until we got home the next day. But that catch that he made and knowing that he's about to score, because like I know him pretty damn good. So I can look in his eyes. This year I looked in his eyes way too many times this year and knew something was off. Something was off. Just like the last game they played when they lost to Cincinnati. That second half, I kept telling my daughter he was sitting up. He wasn't relaxed. And that's how I knew something was not right. And I said, whatever Cincinnati was doing on defense had him all confused. And he doesn't look that way that often, but he was. And I'm like, something's not right. And I was texting Dad. He was like, what do you look like on TV? And I was like, something ain't right. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. We always knew he would do well. He would do great because essentially he's doing the same thing now in the NFL that he did in high school with better quarterback skills and better players. So, we're not surprised. And we tell them we're not surprised. Like, dude, the dude can throw. He has a photographic memory. He's highly intelligent, super intelligent. And he was able to get with coaches that allowed him to be who he is.
Right.
And not turn him to who they thought he should be.
Right.
And that's important because we've seen a lot of black quarterbacks come to the league and get turned into the typical prototypical quarterback. And that's not what we are, man. We're way too athletic. We have to be able to, you gotta let the reins loose a little bit. And it happens in baseball, happens in basketball, it happens in football, it happens in all sports. And I'm just happy that he's able to like not revolutionize the sport, but get with Coach Reed, who allowed him to be himself and not made him conform to the offense. Found an offense that was going to conform to him and make it great.
And I always respected Andy Reid for allowing him to improvise, that freedom of joy to play. I think the year helped him. Yeah.
I always respected Reid because of Michael Vick.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Signing off on them signing him back after he went through his shit he went through.
Yeah.
And for that right there, that's honorable to give a dude another chance. Yeah, that's honorable. Like, because
it was slim pickings without Andy Reid, wasn't it?
Slim. Oh, shit. Slim and Pickens. Yeah, they had high ankle sprains, man. They had high ankle sprains, man. It wasn't looking good. And when you got a guy like that, man, to take a chance on you, like he wasn't really taking a chance because at the end of the day, nobody said Vic was a bad dude.
Yeah.
No, he made a bad decision, but he wasn't a bad dude. And for somebody to give him another chance like that, and now I know Andy, so I kind of like, I get it.
Yeah.
And just knowing him, like having so much respect for him and just listening to him talk, like that's why I liked you before I even knew you, Andy.
Yeah.
Because of the way you see the world, not just the way you see your players, the way you see the world.
Yeah, yeah, and you need allies like that in this game to be strategic, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And he's very strategic, strategic.
Let me ask you a question, man. I want you to put this in layman terms so a lot of dudes who maybe know sports but don't know the interest keys of sports will understand it. Right now, your sport, which you love dearly, is going through some things. What's going on with baseball right now, and what needs to be done to get these guys on the field so that people can see the sport they love and enjoy?
So this whole lockout thing in Major League Baseball, I spoke earlier in 1994, we had a strike. So a strike is when the workers walk out. A lockout is when management locks you out. And that's what's happening in baseball. Management, the owners lock the players out. When their collective bargaining agreement expired December the 4th, they said, we're shutting down, we're not doing anything until we come to an agreement. Just like the players, the workers would do had they walked out during the season. We're not doing anything until we come to an agreement. But there are a lot of core issues. For me, it's, I was listening to talk radio today, and we talk about competitive balance, just making sure teams not tanking, ways to safeguard against that. We're talking about threshold money and, money that teams will be fined, draft picks. We're talking about service time manipulation. We're talking about making sure teams that get the luxury tax money are using that money to put back into their team and sign some free agents. And it's the core issues. It's all about, it's people think it's, the layman terms think it's just about the mighty dollar, but essentially it's not all about the money. Everybody's making money, but there's ways, trying to understand like where the money's going to come from, who's going to get what, and making them do what they say they're going to do with it. Making them do what they say they're going to do with it. So there's so many things when you start talking about service time. We start service time, like 10 years of service time. I think service time is like 172 days consecutive in the big leagues. That's 1 full year service time. If you get 10 of those, you get a full pension. Well, arbitration, 2+ players. You got 2 years in the league, plus maybe it depends on the percentage of guys with 2+ years and a certain amount of days, less than 3. Owners want to change that. They want to manipulate. They want it to stay the same, and players want it to be less, so the teams can't manipulate how much time they have a player under control. So it's so much going on right now, and just reading some of the tweets from one of my buddies who works for USA Today, Bob Nightingale. Today was a much better day negotiating than it had been the first 4 days of this week, 5 days of this week. So hopefully, I think that they're trending in the right direction. As we know, Monday is February the 28th, tomorrow, the 28th. So March 1st is Monday. Tuesday, they need to have a deal done. If not, there would be a delay in the season. There would be games missed. And the players are saying, if we're going to miss games, you're going to pay us because y'all locked us out. You're going to pay us like we hadn't missed a game. That's some gangster stuff right there.
So the closest we can get to normal is if they get something done by Monday or Tuesday. Is that when it's going to start?
That's
Once you push it towards the end of the week, you starting to affect the season.
The season's going to be already affected. It's already going to be affected. So, there are a lot of core issues. For me, I think the owners had a really good negotiating, collective bargaining last time. They won a lot more than they had in the past. And once you lose in negotiation, you gain something in negotiation. Strategy is you don't give it back.
Right.
And it's hard to get that back when you lose it.
Right.
And when you get it, it's hard. You don't give it back. So, it's a lot of showmanship going on. There's some very smart guys in that room that are negotiating. Tony Clark, who heads our MLB's union, one of my friends, the smart guy. You got a smart team around him. And Rob Manfred, who I know the commissioner of baseball. People talk about Rob like he's not an intelligent dude. You don't get to be not intelligent and be in that room. His thought process on some of the changes in the game, they sound a little goofy, but I know his mindset is, I already have you guys hooked on the game. I'm looking at that next generation that I need to get hooked on the game. And then when that generation's hooked, then I got to find something else to do to get that next generation hooked. So, when people our age or older than us, they keep changing the game. I told somebody the other day, as much as we hate change, it's inevitable. Every professional sport has changed over the years. Without change, you have nothing.
Yeah, you become a dinosaur.
You don't want what happened to dinosaurs?
Yeah, they become extinct, baby. You can't. And the game got dry for a few years, but since the new commissioner, he has refreshing the game. They've made the game more culturally advanced and more culturally relevant with today's time. So I'm hoping that those guys really get a chance to play, man, because you don't want to see nobody not playing. And I think we got to stop this athletes and what they don't deserve. First of all, the guys have worked their ass off their entire life. They deserve every penny we can get. We don't count owners' money. Yeah, people don't. No, people are going to always take the sides of big business.
Yeah.
No matter how much money big business makes, the worker makes too much. And I want people, I get into arguments all the time, these guys don't want to be locked out. They don't want to be on strikes. They're fighting for something 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. So
bingo. My generation, the generation before me was Dave Winfield, Kirby Puckett, Greg Maddox, Cecil Cooper, Sweet Pete, all those guys, man, they fought for my generation. All they asked for my generation was don't let the genie out of the bottle. That's all they asked. And they always made us understand, like you just said, you're not fighting for yourself. You were already gifted what we fought for. Now you have to fight to gift that next generation. And if you don't stand for something, and you know this, if you don't stand for something, what happens? You'll fall for anything.
You'll fall for anything.
You'll fall for anything.
Yeah, you'll fall for anything.
You fall for anything. And I was big. I was a player rep with the union when I played my whole 21 years. I was in it in collective bargaining. I sat in those meetings with the owners. I did it all. I learned at an early age because my grandfather worked in a steel mill. And at the end of the day, there's some people make a whole lot of money in this game. And just remember, if the player is able to make that type of money, what are those other dudes making?
Right.
What are they making? And everybody want a piece of the pie, man. Everybody want a piece of the pie.
Everybody want a piece of the pie.
Everybody a piece of the pie. Everybody want a piece of the pie. Yep.
Everybody got to eat in this world. If not, it's trouble.
It's
you know
trouble.
what I'm saying? It's trouble. So how was that transition from, did you already know that you were going to transition to TV because you're so good at it? Is it something that came to you naturally? Like, or were you just like, damn, what I'm going to do? I'm just going to fish and chill. What was your mindset leaving the game?
Bro, listen, I started setting my stuff up long before I retired, man. When I understood, after I left Minnesota in 2003, I understood, and I signed a 3-year contract, 2-year with a player option, so 3-year with the Cubs. And I was there for a year and a half and went to San Francisco. And then I got traded from the Cubs to San Francisco, and I got traded from San Francisco to Baltimore in 2006. I was like, you know what? This is going to be my life. I got to take advantage of the organization and the people that I've come in contact with. I have to take advantage of that. I love being in Minnesota when I played, but the only thing I knew was the Minnesota people. There were 29 other organizations out there of great people, just like the people in Minnesota. I had a chance to get to know those people. I had a chance to go to 11 different teams and lead those teams. I led those teams, being a leader. And it's hard to be a leader in those teams on a team when you're a pitcher. It's really hard. It's hard to do because you're not out there as much as everybody else. And, it's hard. Guys just really don't take the pitchers like that because they don't feel like pitchers, you're not out there every day on the grind like a position player. And when you can lead being a pitcher, you're doing something right. And I was able to do that and just getting to know all the owners, getting to know all the general managers, all the coaches. When I walked in the clubhouse in a stadium, and I talked to the janitors, I talked to the grounds crew doing batting practice. I would go when I was in Texas and in Colorado. I would go in the ground. I would go in there with the grounds crew doing batting practice and play cards with them and just hang out. I made sure I made everybody feel special, and I learned as much as I could because I knew there was a whole different aspect to the game that we didn't see, because the game that you see on TV is a small part of the whole process. And I wanted to be part of that other process that you didn't get a chance to see. And I just started putting my my ducks in a row. I was on the All-Star team in 2011 that MLB chose to go to play in Taiwan. And it was probably about 35 guys on the team, and we took like 60 MLB employees with us on our plane. So I'm talking to them on the plane, just figure out what everybody do. What's your job at MLB? How did you get your job? What college you go to? What's your job entail? We get over to Taiwan, and we're with these people for 14 days. I'm asking questions. I'm trying to see how does this big conglomerate of an organization function all over the world, Major League Baseball. And then it's like, boom. And he's like, well, Latroy, when you come to New York, come to MLB office and we'll be able to show you everything that we do. I'm like, I'll be there. You can best assure that. I'll be there.
I'm in.
And I went, and I was sitting with Dan Haller, who's doing the negotiations right now down in Florida, trying to get this deal done. And he was like, so what do you want to do when you retire? And I'm like, well, I'm not close. This was 2011. I was like, well, I'm not close to retiring, but I would like to work in baseball in some capacity. He said, what do you want to do? I said, that's a good question. Whatever it is, I don't want to wear a uniform. I had a uniform on a long time, and I had a uniform on like 18 years at the time. No, 17 years at the time. I said, I don't want to wear a uniform. He's like, okay, well, we'll keep in touch and we'll make sure you have something. He said, but we got this going on. I'm like, what is it? He said, you could do this while you're playing. I'm like, what? So Barry Larkin, B. Lark, Hall of Famer for the Cincinnati Reds. Yeah. He was coaching the Brazilian national team. Mm-hmm. The Brazilian national team. Now, Major League Baseball was getting into Brazil they were running a baseball, like a spring training format in Brazil, getting these kids that didn't play soccer into baseball. So that could be another pipeline. Well, he was like, you can go over and work with Barry. And I'm like, how am I work with Barry and I'm still playing?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, Barry goes over on January the 20th and he comes back like February the 5th. I'm like, oh, that's right before spring training. I can train over there too?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So for 4 years, from 2012 to 2015, I went over to Brazil 2 weeks at the end of January. And we did a spring training format. We had the best kids from Brazil, Peru. Where else we get the kids from? Chile. We had the best kids from those 3 countries would come over to Brazil and we would train them, give them big league training. Cool fact is, Sao Paulo in Brazil has a huge Japanese population. Huge Japanese population.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me either. So I started looking at the guys on my roster. I'm like, why is his name Jose Fukudome? It don't make sense. So I had to do a little research, and it's a huge Japanese population. So baseball has been in Japan a long time. They have a Japanese influence. Our job was to take the reins from the Japanese influence and inject American baseball into it with the help of the Japanese that were already over there. I did that for 4 years, man, and that opened my eyes up to a whole nother level of what I could do when I retired. And when I retired, I went back to New York that January of 2016, sat down with Rob Manfred. He was like, what do you want? What do you need to do? I was like, it's a good question. What would be your ideal job for me? He was like, I would like for you to be a liaison between us and the players. I would like for you to go in the clubhouse, talk to the players, listen to their concerns, just report back to me. I'm like, I mean, that sounds cool. I was like, but there's no substance for me. Like, I need something. I need meat on my bone.
Right.
And he was like, well, how about you create your own job? And I'm like, now that's a little bit, that check this out though. It was doing a collective bargaining agreement. The agreement was just up. And I didn't want to be a face for, I just came from the union. I didn't want to be on the MLB side so fast. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you.
Jay, you still there?
I'm with you.
Okay. I didn't want to be a face of a newly retired player I was down with the union.
Yeah.
Standing next to him doing the collective bargaining agreement. So I didn't want to look like a traitor. So I was like, no, I'm going to have to pass. I'm like, hopefully the opportunity to come up again. It never did. But whenever I see him, he was like I saw him at the All-Star game in Denver last summer. And now they had 3 guys doing the job that he wanted me to do. 3, Raul Labanya is one of my buddies and a couple other cats. And he was like, the first thing Rob said, see, Latroy, this is the job I was trying to give you. You didn't want to take it. So I asked Raul, I said, is he paying you $240,000? He was like, nope. I said, that's what they offered me when they wanted me to do it in 2016. He's like, you turned that down? I'm like, bro, I was like, I wasn't in the right space to be working like that type of job.
Yeah.
Right after retirement. I just wasn't in that right space. And it was good. So I had to turn that down. But whenever I see Rob, it's nothing but love. And he asks me like something, when you coming to work for us? I'm like, I got a really good gig with the Twins. So I work with Valley Sports North. But my main gig is with the Twins. I'm special assistant to baseball operations.
Oh, wow.
I work with all pitching throughout our organization, from the Dominican League all the way up to the big leagues.
Oh, wow.
So I do have another job within the organization than just calling the games. And I get to talk, I'm on conference calls with the president of our team, the owner of our team, our GM, our pitching coach, our manager. We get ready to hire somebody especially hire somebody to be in the dugout coaches. I get to interview them. So I got a lot. I get to do a lot with my Twins organization that a lot of other guys in my position with other organizations, they don't get to do. All they doing is kissing babies and shaking hands. I don't have to do that.
And I'm glad that somebody trusts your vision Like the work you put in, the
Yeah.
stuff you overcame, like you said, being able to turn yourself into a reliever, fighting through pressure situations, coming out there with two people on base and nobody out. So I'm glad that, Minnesota just always struck me, even when you were still playing, when Kirby Puckett retired, they always struck me as a franchise that took care of their own. So
family.
Yeah. I think you really, God bless you, laying you to them, because just of the way they treat their players, post-playing career, it's always receptive. You never hear the chatter, and that's a blessing. What sticks out to you about that experience with the Minnesota fan base and the town? Like,
You know what? I had a fan club. My experience with the fans in Minnesota early on, I really didn't. I didn't go out of my way to submerge myself, to make myself accessible to the fans. I just didn't. Because I didn't. I could never grasp at a young age. I couldn't grasp the fact that you wanted somebody's autograph.
Right.
I couldn't grasp the fact that you would wait outside for somebody just in hope of getting an autograph or hope that they would speak to you. I couldn't grasp that. But, I remember one night, it was raining outside, and there was this group of people standing out there waiting for our autograph, man. It was raining. And they were out there waiting just to see the players, just to come up through that tunnel. We would come upstairs and walk out, and our parking lot was to the right, and the fans were lined up to the left. All they wanted to do was you to say hi to them. And at that moment, I turned around and went and signed for these people that were out there. Those people ended up telling me that I was the only person to sign that night. I was the only person to acknowledge them, and it was raining, and I took the time out. So that's how the Latroy Hawkins fan club became popular in Minnesota. This one group of people, they actually adored what I did, and they started this fan club that grew to like 1,500 people.
Wow.
All over the country. And they had a banner that they were season ticket holders. They had a banner that they would unfold it, the Troy Hawkins fan club number 32 in the 7th inning. So everybody knew where the fan club sat at. And these people, man, they became family. They became family. It was like, I'll tell you something cool. Like, Mr. Hansen. Mr. Hansen was a principal. He's 96 years old now. He's still living. Lives in a home in Minnesota. His wife, Amy Lou, she passed away about 4 years ago. He's still on Facebook. He's always telling me, Latroy, you're special, man. You're a special young man. Just always remember family first. And I met them in 2000. They wrote my brother in prison. 3 other people in my fan club, they wrote my brother while he was in prison.
Damn.
They wrote him while he was in prison. That's how much love that they had for me. All because I stopped to sign that one day. I showed one act of kindness. I mean, we ended up having some great, like one of the couples, Linda and Larry Campbell, man. They've been to every spring training with me since 2002. I don't care what team I went to. They came and stayed in spring training for 2 weeks. And they always have a picnic, the Latroy Hawkins fan club picnic in the summertime, man. I mean, my birthday, they got together for my birthday. I never was in Minnesota on December the 21st.
Wow.
They got together for my birthday up until I retired.
Wow.
Up until I retired. And they talk about like the joy that I brought them, because I was so approachable and I was so attentive, and I made sure that, nobody ever felt left out. And I had this one kid, they just did an article on this in the Athletic on the 24th of this month. And Eric Weber, this kid, he was a sophomore in high school. He was in my fan club. Him, his mom, his dad, his 2 brothers. And he just came up to me, hey, Latroy, can I drive your car to the prom? I had a 745 BMW at the time. And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever, cool. So I let this kid drive my car to the prom.
Wow.
Now he and I are business partners. We've always kept in contact. I mean, whenever I go to Minnesota, I always hang out with Eric. But we're business partners. We got a bike company, an electric bike company called Excel
Wow.
Power Bikes. And Athletic, which is a national app where some of the best riders write at, they don't have anything to write about right now. So they writing about the retired players. And he gave us a really good write-up. And they talked about our friendship and how the bike company came about. And, just he's one of those guys that I met, one of those people I met through my fan club, and we're friends to this day. And now we do business together. And, we're trying to make a difference in the world. I mean, a small difference, but we're trying to make a difference.
And that's a great story. I want you to talk about, first of all, I want you to shout out what you're doing with the bikes, because that's very important. I want you to promote where people can go research the bikes. Give me a website, give me an Instagram, and talk about what you and Eric got going with this new bike venture and why you're so excited about it.
So they're electric bikes. Okay. In 2020, when the pandemic started, Eric had this great idea that he was going to buy some electric bikes, and rent them on the riverfront in his hometown of Hastings, Minnesota. It's a small town southeast of Minneapolis. Great idea. He did great. He bought 15 bikes. So when they decided they're going to have a baseball season, July the 1st, I wasn't doing anything at the time because, like everybody else, the Twins asked me if I wanted to come and coach in the big leagues that year. And I'm like, it's a pandemic. I'll come and coach. So I was in Minnesota from July the 1st till October 15th. Well, I told Eric I was coming. He was like, hey, I'm going to bring you a bike. He said, will you have your car here? I'm like, no. So I'm going to bring you a bike to ride to the stadium every day. I'm like, cool, that's what's up. So he brings me this electric bike. I ride it 2 days. I was like, what's your business plan with this? He said, I just sell them. I got a website. People call. They meet me at the riverfront. I'll bring the bike. They swipe their card. They go. I come back when the time is up. I'm like, let's order 15 more right now. Let's order 15 more bikes. So we tried to order 15 more bikes, but by this time during the pandemic, everybody was doing things outdoors. So there was no bikes to be found.
Yeah.
Fast forward about 6 months, he rented his bikes to this lady who's a prosecutor and her husband's company, 3 Square Marketing. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to know Eric's background. He wanted to know his business plan, how successful it was the first 8 months he had it open. He was like, I want to go into business with you. I want to make our own bikes, electric bikes. It's the thing of the future. People love them. And Eric called me and was like, would you be willing to go in on this? Because you wanted to go in, during the summer, we couldn't get bikes. Now we have even better opportunity. I was like, I'm in. I'm in. So that's how it started. Get up there, we're going through how the bikes are going to look, what we're going to name the bikes. I actually came up with the name Excel Power Bikes. We had a whole lot of other names. And then I was like, what about Excel? And everyone's like, Excel? We looked at the definition of Excel. It's like, okay, that's what it's going to be. Me, Eric, our other 2 business partners, boom, it happened. He already has a connection in China because of his company that he owns. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff was a lot easier for us because we already had a connection over there, but we wanted our bikes to be quality. We wanted to have the best battery because we wanted to go further than all our competition. We wanted to have all metal on the bike. We didn't want any plastic brakes and all that stuff. We wanted everything to be just like top of the line, but we still wanted to make it affordable for people who are in that area who wants to buy these bikes. Eric came, in 8 months time, this dude became a bike guru, man. It's incredible. Todd, our other partner, he already knew about the bikes too. So he educated himself on the bikes. I'm still trying to get up to par, but it just started to happen so fast. And we put the order in first 600. We ordered 600 out the gate. And we ordered them last January, end of January, because Chinese New Year starts February the 1st. You can't get nothing done. Everything's shut down for a month. We didn't get our bikes until late July. And, we're just doing some little marketing. We're not doing a lot. We're hitting up RV shows. They went to an RV show in Milwaukee. They wanted to one in upstate New York. Upstate Minnesota. I was talking to some friends here about who has horses and how there's a market for electric bikes in the horse business, because when they go to these big rodeos, these big shows, they have to park their trailers a mile down the road. So they have to get back to the arena. A lot of people ride their horses. Now, we're going to try to tap into selling these bikes at these horse shows. And that's another little niche that we're trying to get into. But we're doing well. We just ordered 2,200 more bikes. 2,200 more bikes. And it's www.excelpowerbikes.com. Excel, EXCELPOWERBIKES.com. And, it's just been, it's just, like I tell people, I tell my friends, like, I'm not trying to hit a grand slam. I made some money in the game, blessed to make some money in the game, wasn't a stupid spender, was able to save some money. I'm not trying to hit a grand slam. I'll take a single. I even take a double. I'll take a layup. I ain't trying to hit a half-court shot. Right. So it's just a little something that I get to have some control over. I'm in the day-to-day. I got to go up there March 9th because we're having a meeting with the St. Paul Saints, and good chance we're going to have a meeting with the Twins also. People say, well, you work with, so it should be easy to get in. Yeah, it's not that easy because we got sponsorships and contracts with other companies like Polaris and things like that. And, but just trying to get in where we fit in too. Like, people say, well, your godson's Patrick and this and that, you have him on the bike, blah, blah. I'm like, we're not ready for all that. We're not ready for that.
Right.
Patrick gets on his bike. He tweet about it now. We get barraged with 700 orders. We only got like 300 bikes left.
Yeah.
So we can't, and then we don't know with the supply chain how long it's going to take to get bikes. So we're not ready for that. So we're taking it slow.
Yeah.
We're taking it slow and easy and steady. And this next 2,200 bikes can be better than the bikes we built the first time around because there's so much more technology, extra batteries, things like that. If you go on the website, we got a bike called the Hawk. And it's a foldable bike, so you can put that in your trunk. We have another bike called the Showtime, is what I nicknamed Patrick when he was like 9 years old. I called him Showtime because he played on the 11, 12-year-old team as a shortstop. I called him Showtime. So we had a Showtime. And then one of my favorite players of all time, we got one called the Big Ticket. You know who that is, right?
Of course. Yeah.
The Big Ticket out of Minnesota. So we got the Big Ticket, and then we have one called the City Slicker.
Shout out Kevin Garnett, obviously.
Yes, sir, KG. Yeah. So we had to, specifically choose names and stuff like that. And we customize the bikes. So I have a bike customized. I actually have the Big Ticket because the tires are fat. It's a bigger, sturdier bike. The battery lasts a lot longer. I can get probably about 50 miles on my bike. And we customize the logo. So my logo is all over my bike. My name, my number, my silhouette of me pitching in my pitching motion, and my favorite colors. So there's little things that we add to the bike that some of our other companies, they don't do.
So does KG have a Big Ticket bike?
Nah, he don't have a Big Ticket. We just, we're taking it slow on stuff like that, reaching out to our because we don't have enough inventory to get swamped.
Right.
We don't have enough inventory. We don't have the inventory. We only ordered 600 bikes. Yeah. And the small steps that we're taking are actually going pretty darn well. So we're going to RV shows. Man, we think RV shows you can sell these electric bikes. Yeah. And there's definitely a demographic to the bikes. And we're starting to get our market. And just think, this is all in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We hadn't branched out too far yet. We're going to have some distributors down here in Texas eventually. I got a meeting this week with a guy that I know. But, we're taking it slow. Like,
smart.
It's just like, I don't want it. We don't want it to blow up where we don't have enough inventory. We want to be able to get you a bike when you order one.
So let me ask you this. And I always do this before I wrap it up. Like, I want to ask the question that somebody may be scared because they think it may be a dumb question. But if it was somebody watching my show and they say, well, what's the benefit of an electric bike?
So the benefit of an electric bike, there's a demographic, older people, actually. So with an electric bike, you have gears. They call pedal assistance, called PASS, pedal assistance. You can do 0, where when the bike moves, it's a traditional bike. You're supplying all the horsepower. You can go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pedal assistance. So you can go out for a ride. You get tired, you can get a little help.
Right.
You can ride for 40, 50 miles.
Right.
You know, only guys on the Tour de France or something like that riding 40, 50 miles a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the more horsepower you use, manpower you use, the longer your battery's gonna last. And that's the beauty in it. You know, for people who need to get out.
Yeah,
need to get out.
Most definitely.
Get some fresh air. You can go out on a long ride with your wife or your significant other and not have to worry about, okay, I'm too tired to drive to pedal back home. You get a little assistance and there you go. And a lot of people when you get to the point where you start talking about like smog and air pollution and what cars are doing to the ozone and all that stuff, if you live at a certain distance from work, you can ride your electric bike 4 or 5 months out of the year. That cuts on gas. That cuts on, the emissions, smog in your city and places like LA. So there's a lot of other benefits to it. And if you like to ride, you can just, on a Sunday, you can go on a 30-mile ride if you want to.
Yeah, most definitely.
A lot of things.
Most definitely. Fun. Well, first off, man, I'm honored. I want to do this at least, once or twice a week. I mean, a month, especially as the season goes on. Get your take on what's going on. I really want to connect my audience with you and also let them know who are some of the up and coming young baseball players of all races, all demographics. I want to dive in more later, the next time we talk about what we can do to get more kids in the inner city playing baseball again. Give them that option. I don't want everybody to think they got to play basketball. Let's get these boys some other options. I want to have that conversation. And I just want to thank you, man, for, taking a chance on your boy JL, man. You know what I mean? This means a lot to me. This is my first interview. I've did a lot. My first one was with myself. So this is my first interview for somebody to just come in here and speak freely like we would just be speaking at the bar. That means a lot to me, man. You got you one, man. I appreciate it.
Bro, you know what, man? And I always talk about where we come from, man. And we talk about some of the good people. And I don't want to get off the podcast without talking about Tracy.
Oh,
like we start talking about like just solid dudes.
Yeah.
I was like, Tracy just always just been that dude, man. Just a solid cat. Yeah. And you always know if he mess with you, I mess with you.
Right.
It's always like that. That's that circle, and we all know good people, and we all know shitty people too. We all know shitty people. Yeah. But Tracy has always been, Tracy's always been that guy, man. He's always been that guy, man. Just stand up.
And shout out my boy Hack, man. Tracy Hassel, man. GV original.
Yes, sir.
One of my good friends growing up. I used to call him even when I was wild, I would always call him the universal blood type because he just got along with everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was that bridge to be like, loud, not. Don't worry about that. Not now. You know what I mean? He
always shaking the head with that smile on his face.
Yeah, and not now. You know what I mean? So yeah, most definitely. And I think on the next one, that's what I do. Maybe tie you and a homie in. We just get to know each other, man. Just keep building this brand. I wish you success in all your endeavors, personal and professionally.
You too, brother.
You know what I mean? And I just want to thank you, man. I appreciate you and I love you, my brother, forever.
I love you too. And when you get it all edited and all that stuff, we'll shoot it out on the social media, on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And
yes, sir.
I even got TikTok now. Jeez. killing me with all this
Yes, sir.
stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm gonna get up here. I'm gonna get up in this morning, and I'm gonna get this to you, and I'm gonna let you
All
see.
right.
Look, yes, sir. I
Pleasure's
appreciate
all
you.
mine, brother.
Pleasure's
All right.
mine. Much love,
Peace
fam.
out. All
Good
right.
night. Yeah, yeah,
Same to you.
yeah.